Let's start building.
I'm still not a fan of the AI British voice, but I got to tell you, the AI American voice for Let's Start Building, they have a couple of female voices, and they're just bad. I don't know, but having said that, for those of you who have Alexa out there, you'll notice that, or you should have noticed, I think, that the Alexa voice has changed. Much more natural, but for some reason, the more natural vibe is much more disconcerting than hearing that on some of ours. You can ask it to change back, and we've done that because it's just kind of weird, and I don't know, just not. That was weird. But you didn't come here today to listen to me talk about Alexa or AI voices. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know why you come by that often. Anyways, though I do hear that there are folks that listen to this. Some folks have called it Zen, which is kind of cool. You know, you get a crazy world out there, and maybe having an hour of just peace isn't so bad. I try not to talk about politics or world events or anything heavy that's going on. This is just a stream of consciousness that I have that I'm putting out there while we build things. I've been absent for a little while, and that is because I've picked up a couple morning shows at WJOB. It's been a lot. And I don't know. I haven't figured out if I like it yet. I like going into the studio, making content, and having fun that way. But there's only so much bandwidth in my head to get content out. I'm not a fan of. Sometimes I'm not even a fan of calling this content, although it is. I think it minimizes what it is to me, and to me, it's just. I've got several iterations of Dad Bod Walking. I've not neglected them, constantly thinking about season 2 of Podcast of Friends, bringing folks in for 1, 2, 3 hours to chat about things. But that's difficult when you spend so much time in the other studio doing that stuff. So I think we're going to be making some changes here. Pulling back from the WJOB side 1 day a week and being here a little more often. I like this. So, again, for those of you who have been maybe watching on WJOB, watching on the YouTubes there, you'll know that I've had this cold for a while, and it just doesn't go away. So I have a mute button at WJOB that I'll use when I cough, but I don't have one here. Maybe I'll run it through AI and have it take it out, so then you'll see jerky movements and just know that's when I was coughing. But yeah, so today, our build today is going to be Gameboy. This is set number 72046 with 421 pieces. We're going to put this together and maybe have a little nostalgia along the way. And we'll see. Admittedly, I don't know what we're even going to talk about today, but I am sure something will come up. In talking with someone who watched this, the Zen was used. Dan, that was your word if you're out there listening. But I had another person say it almost had a Bob Ross quality. And not that I take any credit for that, not that I'm attempting to emulate any of that. But I do recall watching some of those videos, and I didn't necessarily care. I mean, the happy trees, everybody knows happy trees, but it was always some landscape that was, I don't even know what you'd call it. There was some abstraction to it, but it was a landscape, and it was nice, it was pretty. And he would just talk about things, and talk about, some of it was feel-good stuff about he'd be painting a tree, and if there was a mistake, it was just the tone and timbre of his voice that made you feel like it was okay to make a mistake. Because if the tree went this way, maybe you just, put some more leaves around here or do something. And Nothing's fatal, nothing's final. So if that's the vibe you get from this, great. Sorry for the cough. Don't know what to tell you. This show is sponsored in part by NyQuil and DayQuil. Not really. Can't take them. So this is my canvas. Lego is my canvas. And so, I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Okay. I'm still working on the camera angle. As you can tell on my screen here, I kind of put the keyboard where I know I can play and still see from this camera up here. We'll see how it goes. I've always liked video games. I've always liked, Nintendo was big for me growing up. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember if we had Atari or if we had any of those. It was, but that was never my thing. And admittedly, I'm not very good at video games. Things like SimCity, some of those strategy ones like that, I'm pretty good at. First shooters, I've always been bad at first shooters. So that got really big around Nintendo 64. All my friends got good with it. They enjoyed it. I think maybe it was the Nintendo 64. One of them we never got as a kid. And not to sound one way or another, but for the most part, when something new came out, we would get it as a family. But we never did any of the PlayStations. I think maybe my sister had a PlayStation. But that was never, it's an unusual bag. That was never one of our things. So, interesting. These are the different plates we can use. Oh, that's pretty cool. They're 3D style. I don't know if they'll show up well. Yeah, it does look on the camera there. Hopefully that comes through well, but it's that 3D look on those. On this one here, if you can kind of tell, it looks like Mario's jumping. We'll try this camera here. Yeah, look at that. Looks like Mario's jumping. That's pretty cool. Nails are clean too. That's very important. So anyways, so we were never keeping up with the Joneses. We had we had Nintendo. We had Super Nintendo. And I think we waited again until, what was after 64? GameCube. We did GameCube. I was an adult. I never had the original Xbox. That's not a woe was me comment. It was just, we didn't do that. I think my first Xbox was 360, whatever the one before that. Didn't. But at that point, it really turned into all of them were these Halo third-person shooters, and I don't know what it is, but I am just no good at that whatsoever. Wasn't my thing. Wasn't very good at it, but I liked having them. Not like there was one episode we were talking about models, and I tend to think back to my friend Justin. He's still around. He had a really creative eye, very talented with pencil and paintbrush, and it just quite artistic. And he would build these that were so good. Oh my gosh, it was exactly as the directions wanted it to be, and they just look so good. I can remember there was a time where I don't want to say it was jealousy, certainly not that, but that's pretty cool. It's the stand to put these guys in. That is pretty cool. I will give them credit for that. So I don't want to say it was jealousy, certainly, but it was, oh man, I wish I could do that. I tended to maybe be a little more creative. Maybe that's just what you say when you're not good at something. It doesn't always play out. Well, that's the creative edit on there. But yeah, so he was really good. And then I had another friend. His name was Dan, and he did a lot of gaming. Still does. As time moves on, you don't keep up with everyone. That's fine. No harm, no foul. But I believe he still goes to a lot of these conventions, do we call them? Whatever you want to call them. And so he was big into games. So much so I can remember growing up that his mom would have to implement Nintendo days and non-Nintendo days. I don't remember. Let's just say there were even and odd days. And that was how she was able to regulate, because he loved games. And sorry, takes some time and effort to do. This guy here, this guy here, and this guy here. So he was the friend that really loved video games. But again, yet another one that I could never keep up with that level. I don't know why. I couldn't, so I didn't. Yeah, they would get really into that stuff. Like I said, I just couldn't do it. How fun is that? Okay, so sticker one. Sticker one is for Super Mario Land. I can't wait to do Zelda. For some of you that that know me, I have a bunch of tattoos. I think I'm up to 30, maybe 29, 28. But I love my tattoos. Try to make this. Never really good at that. But that's okay, right? Isn't that what? Wow. That looks freakishly like a piece. This is supposed to go in here to make this a display. And that right there, I'll put up in the front. Whoa, that's a little display here. Well, that was fun. These two guys, put these over here. And as always, some extra pieces that, as you all know, when we're done, the extra pieces go into the Yoda cup. I suppose if you're building and never need an extra piece, yeah, let me know. Bag number 2. So, I don't even know where I was going with that. Video games were big. I do remember this guy here using, I think, 4AA. I don't know why batteries are so much more prevalent now than growing up. I don't know why. It just, in my head, I always seem to remember batteries being at a premium, and now I have bags of them. So maybe it was just because I didn't buy them, so I didn't know. Didn't know where they were stored. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, Liam does that a lot. Liam does a lot of mimicry, and sometimes I think that's part of his diagnosis. Perhaps kids on the spectrum do a lot of mimicry because it's just hard for them to create things on their own, so they mimic. That's fine. That's not the point of the conversation. But he will do something, and I found I just did it. And I think I did it because of him. I don't believe he caught it from me. But it's that idea of he'll be doing something, and he will say, all right, all right, all right. I don't know where he got it from, but it's pretty flippin' adorable if you ask me. This is a lot of these guys. One day I would like to see they've got to have a computer program over at, Lego World, where they create all this stuff. They got to have one. It just covers that. It's pretty cool. That they just put in. I recently I'm pointing over here. You can't see me pointing or any of that, but I recently got the Enterprise. That's going to be a long build. I'm going to need time to do that because I know me. I'm going to want to finish it in one setting. And the one thing you've all heard me complain about, probably all wondered, is when do I find time to do all that in the first place? I know, I hear you, but I think I'm going to need hours. This one here probably be an hour video, and it's got 400 pieces. That one has 4,000. Well, I ain't got time to sit for, 10, 12 hours. I mean, I do. I just want to get it done in one sitting. May have to move the computer over to the several dining room tables here in the Dad Bod Walking Studios. Look at, I hope you could see that maybe not super clear. There are a ton of, okay, I see how they do it. What? This will be a fun one. So, I'm sorry, this is, the problem with stream of consciousness and doing this is sometimes I get lost in my own thoughts. And That's okay too. Sometimes I have thought about, those folks in the past that they say, oh, this guy developed algebra, this guy discovered gravity, this guy looked at the stars and found planets, this guy figured out the curvature of the earth. And I think, wow, were they really, they must have been extremely intelligent. But also, is it possible? Now, math people, science people, if you're watching this, don't get sassy with me. Is it entirely possible that there was just so little to do, they had nothing to do, nothing else to do but sit and think, which perfectly fine, doesn't take away from any of their accomplishments. But I would venture to say that as a society, we have stopped doing that. We have stopped pondering. We've stopped doing any of that. There was a really good episode of Dad Bod Walking. Go check it out. The one with Adam Cedia. I don't remember the number of it off the top of my head. Put this guy aside. This is the battery pack. And that opened as a kid, putting the new batteries in there. And I'm now even forgetting not what we talked about, but how it was discussed. And it was the idea that you are truly rich, you are truly, in the 1%, if you want to call it that, if you have time to just sit and think. I don't know how some people come up with opinions in this world in general, but come up with such strongly held opinions, and they just haven't thought about it. They haven't considered all sides. It's just what they feel. A lot of people do things based on feelings now, and that is a horrible thing. I couldn't tell you how many times I deal with that on the council, where it's some people get so hung up on their strongly held belief that they've got a real forest in the trees thing going on, and it's frustrating because you're trying to get something done, something accomplished, and you can't because they got some goofy way of thinking, and I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. This wasn't supposed to be about politics. Yeah, whatever. Elections are coming up. Be sure to vote. Elections are so goofy because we take so much pride in them in America. It's like, oh, this is, so much pride. But then it turns out to, well, everybody has a right to vote because no person's illegal. I roll. So it's like people who aren't citizens can vote. People who, whatever. I don't know that I just don't feel like we take elections seriously. Something like 20% of the people turn out to vote. That's a shame. But election time's coming up. If you don't take it seriously, hang on, Bobby's thinking. Look at that. You can already see it starting to take shape. I'm just so tickled pink with this. I think this is the coolest thing. Yeah, so cool. So it's like we don't take it seriously, and then when you don't take elections seriously, you then get candidates who don't take their roles and responsibilities seriously. Because it's like, well, if it was a gag to get me in here, then I can do whatever I want, and I think it would disturb you to know how often that stuff happens. How often people just don't really care, and and then of course there's a name calling of, oh, you don't agree with me, so you're a whatever. Go vote, do your research. Don't just don't do what you've always been doing. Research the candidates, get to know them. Oh, especially on the local level. They're just sitting around with their phones. They're just waiting for someone to call them and ask them a question. And if you don't agree with everything they have to say, that's okay. There is only one perfect candidate in your mind, and that's going to be you. So unless you're running, they're not all going to be perfect. But there's a guy out there who ran for a while. He's still running out there. He's got a tough race ahead, so we'll see how that goes for him. But what I say is, he always had a really good saying that's, it's better to have oatmeal than no meal. And where I 100% agree with that is, some folks go out there and they're one-issue voters, whatever. They'll come out and they'll say, well, I'm not voting for this guy because XYZ, whatever. Say, okay. And then the person that they would disagree with most gets elected and wins. And so now I say, look, would you rather have the person you agree with 80% of the time, 90% of the time be in office over the person you agree with, say, 10% of the time? For me, I'd rather have oatmeal than no meal. Sometimes we've established there's no perfect candidate, and not everybody's going to do everything you want and or like. So, find the person that's closest to it. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's so much of that already. And I suppose if there is one really important topic that you say is a non-negotiable for you, one, cheers for finding that. Most people haven't. Stick to your guns with that, and if it doesn't go your way, then keep. Wow, this is looking pretty cool. You know what I haven't understood? Keep on fighting. Anyways, what I haven't understood is you saw me build the penguin before. Sometimes it will put these strange colors in here that you will never ever see, and I wonder why they do that. Again, there has to be some magical computer in there that says, hey, we need to print out 1 million of these because we're going to use 800,000 somewhere else. But now we've got all these left over. But the bricks have names, so we'll just call this a flat 4. I don't know if that's technically what it is, but we'll just call it that. We need some flat 4s in the Game Boy. Well, we can just stick this color in and you'll never see it, so it doesn't matter. And that's true, but that has always intrigued me. I wonder what do you want to hear me talk about? So Liam, a couple days ago was what we. Oh wow, I shouldn't lean down. I should look up while I do this. I don't know. Balding. One day you'll come on here and I'll just have it all shaved. So Liam, we just celebrated with him what we lovingly call Gotcha Day. So Gotcha Day is where we picked him up from. Jeez, oh Pete. Gotcha Day is when we went to court, and the court took all of the evidence that was provided in the forms of letters and recommendations and attorney's notes, and my gosh, just a world of documentation. And they said, we determined that you guys are going to be good parents. So there you go. Have a kid. Best of luck. Thoughts and prayers. So I was like, okay. So it was Gotcha Day for Liam a couple days ago. We are still very excited about that. One day, either here or on the radio, I would like to do an entire show devoted to adoption, because I think it was such a weird taboo that I don't think many people quite. I'll put that on wrong. But now I know what they're trying to do. So on here, you'll see that it's here. Put these random guys here and there that you're never going to see. And that's okay. Give me these strange colors. There was a lot of pink. I think there was pink or something. I don't know. I don't even know how good this content is. Let me know. I mean, I'm having fun. I hope you are too. So anyways, back to Liam. It was Gotcha Day for him. And, we didn't celebrate it. We just didn't. That's not something we celebrate other than to mark it on social media. Because remember, if it's not on social media, it didn't happen. So we'll mark it on social media. Perhaps as time goes on, we'll find various ways to celebrate or commemorate that. Yeah, it was Gotcha Day. And I would really like to have an entire conversation sometime about what that process was like, what it meant to us. I think had I had some guidance, I think maybe I would have fared better, but I didn't have any guidance, and so doing here. Okay. This is that time when, when you're driving around and you're looking for a house and it's like, okay, you go and you turn down the radio. And I mean, there's seemingly no explanation or reason why you're turning down the radio. It's just that you do. And I had that on backwards. And to me, it's always just funny because there's no reason to turn down the radio, but you do. And so I noticed that here as I am looking to do this. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, I'm figuring out where I went wrong. So, apologies for that. What do I need to get better at? Continuing the train of thought. Is it for those of you listening? Maybe you let me know. Is it the timbre of my voice? Is it the weird pacing that I do with it? Is it nice to just listen? I'm very interested in why some folks are listening, but I also don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. So if you're listening, thank you very much. See, now what would be the point of that contraption there? I guess we'll see when it's done. But let's remember to come back to that because that makes no sense whatsoever. But what do I know, right? So Liam's adoption day. Focus, Bob. Maybe what I should do is maybe I shouldn't just come in here with such a blank slate in my head and talk about it. Maybe I should at least have topics so when I look up, it's like, oh yeah, adoption. We can stay on that topic for a bit. So I would like to at some point do a, whether it's an entire podcast or whatever it may be. I would really like to do one about adoption. Perhaps get a few other folks in here and talk about their stories. While mine is unique to me, I don't know that it's special in so much that, yes, it's special for me, but I wonder if other people's, if their processes and whatnot are similar or the same. This one looks like it's got a lot of fun pieces. Sorry, we will definitely edit out that cough. That was a weird one. Ooh, what's this? I know it doesn't say to open this yet, but I'm just super curious. This is weird. Little, you can't tell the material here, but it's like an O-ring, like a gasket. I guess we'll be needing a gasket for this Lego. This is the first time I've ever built Lego that required a gasket. We'll see how that works out. So his adoption process was pretty cool. A lot of folks come back and they ask, "Oh, so do you does he know, or do you tell him?" Yeah, we tell him. What I would say though is, when people ask, what does he think? You have to understand there's a context with Liam and where he's at, his maturity level, his understanding of the world. So to say you're adopted, he knows he's adopted, but I don't know to what extent that means something to him. I'm Dad, Beck's mom, and so that he certainly views that. But we'll ask him someday. For those of you who are fans of Liam, let me look at the date here. What is this? The 23rd of March. Tune in to WLS 12:30 a.m. on. Just look up WLS. No, not WLS. Oh my gosh, WJOB. Talk about an AM radio hound there. Look up WJOB 12:30 on the YouTubes. And my plan is to have Liam. He is going to be doing the weather that day. Not 6 in the morning. I would never do that. That would just be a disaster. But maybe 7:30 or so. Tune in and hear Liam do the weather. The other night we were watching his radio debut when he did the Christmas show with me on WJOB, or as Liam calls it, WJOB. He did the radio with me, and he thought it was so cool, so special that he's not been outright asking to do it again, but it's certainly there that hey, if I could ever get back onto there, that'd be pretty cool, right, Dad? So That's the day before we go to Florida because Florida is the best. And so I said, yeah, sure, buddy. We'll get you on there. Well, now that I said that, time to pay up. So first day of spring break, he's off. So I said, okay, we'll get you on there. So Liam is going to do the weather. I don't know. I mean, a lot of kids, but I tend to say I don't know how many kids get to do what he does every Friday at about 7:10, 7:20 in the morning when I know because Liam will watch the morning drive shows on WJOB are also simulcast, if we want to use such a fancy word, on YouTube. So Liam will watch it live. And at first I thought, it'd be pretty cool to give him a shout out here and there. He thinks it's pretty cool to hear his name on coming out of the TV. Occasionally I have taken his artwork in or a stuffed animal and maybe stuck it in the corner or something like that. But just to show him little ways that, hey, buddy, we're thinking of you here. And he thinks that's pretty cool. So on Sunday mornings, Friday mornings, 7:15, 7:20, zoom in and I get my co-host Adriana and the producer Joe. We send Liam off. Hey, buddy, good luck. Have a great day. Hope you do well. Stay calm. Take your time. All that good jazz. And recently we started it. It's become a bit. It's a mildly entertaining bit. But it is with his spelling words. He consistently has a spelling test on Fridays. And so we like to hype him up a little bit. And we say, hey, buddy, good luck on your spelling tests. And then the next thing is people were asking on the YouTube comments, what are his spelling words? What, this and that. And so we started doing the spelling words. And Joe, who our producer, which he may hear this tomorrow, he may never hear this. Joe is really good with sports. Might have got knocked in the head a few times. But he's as such that we're able to play a game called Is Joe Smarter Than a Fourth Grader? And that has been wildly entertaining. Folks have really been liking that. What is this? Well, that just sits in there. See, now look at how complex this was. I don't know if I can show that. See, there's a bunch of different parts. But it seemingly just fits in here. Okay. It seemed like a lot of steps for nothing. But it gave us more time to talk, so that'll work, I suppose. I wonder, my buddy Mike had said he had listened to this. And cheers, Mike, for bumping that up. I wonder if I would probably, so Liam is 10. I didn't get into podcasting until recently, but I would imagine a lot of the late nights or any of the fussbuckery, which we did learn is a real word. Fussbucket's a real word. And if you're being a fussbucket or engaging in fussbuckery, that's a real thing. So I can see where on some of those nights I might have just, because you're looking for calm, maybe you don't want the TV going, but, just something. And so I can completely see me listening to podcasts. Fussbuckery. I don't even know where it came from, but we would call him a fuss bucket. And I think it was my sister. I think the teacher and my sister is the one who perhaps looked that up. I have a terrible memory. It's a sliding memory. So meaning if the memory of 2025 dumped out the memory of 2015, and it's rolling like that. So when it's 2035, I will forget 2025. There's only ever so much RAM in my head. And look how cool that is. Let me see if it's select. That's pretty cool. I love when you could start to see it come together. Going back to talking about my friend Justin and his ability to create things, I never really had that talent to just blindly create. I it's not often I can look at, not often that I can look at a room and say, let's paint it this way, let's tear down this wall and put up this contraption. I'm not very good at that. When we redid the kitchen, it was almost like playing The Sims or some type of Minecraft or something where you can, thought of Minecraft a second, we can almost build it up and you kind of got to play with it a little bit. See, that's what I did with the studio. If you've watched the first episode to now, the things have changed. And once I get something there, then I'm really good at maneuvering it in place. But it's the idea of just visualizing, conceptualizing what something does or is or should be. Admittedly, I'm not very good at. So, sorry, I'm still thinking. But yeah, so Justin was really good at even conceptualizing and visualizing that stuff. I never had that ability. I wish I did. But then maybe if I had that ability, I wouldn't have other abilities. What would I do without my superpowers? Whatever those may be. Okay. Wow, that's wild. Now it's like this, and now I want to turn it this way. I don't know that goes there, but okay, so that's just one. It goes this way, and this guy goes here. This guy goes here. So anyways, I wasn't good at that. Minecraft, for example. I could go in there and I could play Minecraft forever. I just, build things, but it looks somewhat blocky and maybe it's not as clean. And is that going to be the headphone jack? My gosh. So they're using this little guy here. You can't really tell in the video, but it's a hollow piece with a side hollow. Then they put this in here for the headphone jack. Very cool, very awesome. Great job, guys. 10 out of 10. Huh. Look at that. Already starting to come together. So this is a rocker. Anyways, if you've built this one before, maybe the suspense is killing you because at some point I'll be like, this is so cool. I won't be there yet. So one of the pieces of homework that I mentioned before was that I need to do some homework on this, and I just haven't yet. To see, okay, so there's you could get anything on YouTube. Okay, great. You can get anything on YouTube, but I haven't. It's almost like, Bob, if you're going to put the time in to do a Lego build show, this is how you need to do it. You need to label things this way, market things this way. Not that I'm dying for it to grow, but I suppose if I'm doing something niche like this, doing it in a way where others could find it and be niche with me, I suppose. This is where here it is. I had to find this piece here. But I will say I have noticed in the past, occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally, I have to open a bag to get a piece that they haven't said was needed yet. So occasionally, if I can't find something, I do tell myself to, haste yourself, Bob. It's okay. So we'll see. Oh, I just did so, but I did it in a way where I have a weird voice. And I'm watching a training video from my job, which I was just assumed training videos are awful. I think they're a waste for people who are not tech-minded. Meaning, if it says Amazon.coin sends you an email that says, oh, your password has been compromised. Please enter your credit card number so we can verify it's you. You get these boomers out here that do that, and it's like, well, that's kind of on you. That's stupid. I don't do that. Cameras are getting smarter every day. I think it's an entire industry built on just silliness. So anyways, the silliness happens. We're doing this, whatever you want to call it, and it is coming to shape here. It is, I was right. Headphone jack. You gotta think about it. So the bad guy in this WBT about don't share your password, don't let strangers into the building. The bad guy has a really distinct voice. Now I'm spacing on his name. For the purposes of this, doesn't matter. But in the show The Chosen, which I'm really a fan of, it's so well done. It has certainly made me think about faith in different ways. It's I don't know how else to say it other than if you've been inquisitive about religion, the Christian faith, how it started, how it is truly separate from the Jewish faith. No way, that rubber thing makes it. They're so smart. If you've ever been curious about it, it is such a good show. There's a main bad guy, not a main guy. Pontius Pilate's a bad guy, but that Praetor Quintus, I believe is his name. Oh my gosh, the way this is it works like a button controller, and it doesn't come out because of the flat pieces. That was ingenious. Captain Lego out there, that good job. 10 out of 10 would recommend that. That was really awesome how you did that. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching this just bogus, mind-numbing save the company bull. And I tell you, out of nowhere, I hear this voice. I'm thinking, I've recognized the voice. It was the main bad guy so the Roman bad guy in my The Chosen, in my Jesus show, ended up also being the bad guy in my Don't Share Your Password. No, this is incredible. I'm sorry. I quite literally had to just stop for a moment to look at this, and I can't tell you how impressive it is to see how they've built the buttons on here, so that the buttons, once they're in there, you'll be able to press the buttons. I don't know. That to me is just the coolest thing I've ever seen, and the way they lock in there. Good job, everybody. So yeah, Praetor Quintus was the bad guy. I don't know. We're almost done. Easy there. We're only 54 minutes into this. Easy. You're okay. Don't get antsy. Stay with me. Stay with me now. I wonder what other Lego. So okay, here's a question for you. Do you listen for the Lego building, or do you listen to the irreverent conversation? Because if you're listening just for the Lego building, you could probably put it on mute. And sometimes you think, dude, stop talking. The more you talk, the less you're building, and nobody wants to hear that stuff. And that could be true, I suppose. Mike, was it this one? I think it was this one, where just out of shenanigans, I said, all right, anybody listening, whoever's listening, if you make it to the end, you're the first one to get to the end, let me know, and I'll Venmo you $1. I just, sure enough, look at that. Sure enough, Mike gives me a call. Look at this. This the O-ring time. He calls me, no way. And that's what makes the buttons bounce. Shockingly good. Freakishly good. I can't tell you, that is just exceptional. Okay, and then this. Okay. This is truly a remarkable. The joy on this one is, so this goes here. No. I got to add the buttons. I don't know why I did that. I set the camera up, so we're just going to have fun with it. That is impressive. I hope you all thought that was. You got to feel it. You got to feel it. So call me sometime and come feel my Lego. And I think you may like it. I think it may. Okay, I'm done. That just is not going to end well. Okay, so this guy here. I know. Focus, Bobby. This is our time now. You're building Lego in our. So I apologize. Yes, I am. So I wonder. Okay, so going back. So it's like, Bobby, if you are going to be a. So I guess those could come out, but not really. So if you're going to be a Lego builder on the internet, we need you to focus and either build the Lego or talk. You clearly aren't smart enough to do both yet. Valid point. We're getting into, we'll need one of those. So we're at an hour here. I think we'll go to about an hour 20 just to wrap this up. But that's about 400 pieces. I don't know how I'm going to do any of the bigger sets. Because I feel like it's not even so much that, well, if you weren't talking, I think talking has nothing to do with it. I think doing the Lego, actually slows down my talking. So I don't know if it's, hey, Bob, do it on mute, if that would actually do anything. So, or maybe you just don't like the sound of my voice. It could be. Nobody's forcing you to listen to it. Wouldn't that be awesome if they did, though? Like, hey, your punishment today is you must listen to Bob ramble on about really bad candidates running for local office. Oh my God, it's just awful sometimes, too. Yeah, get to know some of these elected officials. Some of them are just so odd that, it's hard to know people's motivations. What are my motivations? What are my motivations? I'm not running this year, so I'm kind of free of that question. But occasionally, Jim Deedlow, the owner of the primary owner of WJOB, he will ask me. I say, what are you doing, man? What are you doing here? What are you hoping to get out of it? I just like talking and making content. Again, if we've decided we're going to call it that, I just kind of like it. So I don't know that. So if it's held this way, this is dot matrix with stereo sound. How cool is that? This one says volume on off. This has a little guy here. What's your purpose? What are you looking to get out of this? I mean, I'm not cognizant that, certainly spending time on the radio builds the Bob Starkey brand. In this moment, I have zero problem being 100% honest with you to say, I don't even know what the end game of that is. Does it help on the political side of things? Certainly it does. You'd be somewhat foolish to just assume it didn't. I guess it's that old, if you see an old lady needing help across the street, you should be that person that goes and helps them across the street. Now, you would probably help that person across the street whether or not there was a camera there, right? Fair enough? Looks like we put this one aside now. And where the politician segment comes in is they say, okay, well, Pence used to do that a lot. He would go help at the soup kitchen. Now, I knew this guy so much that I would say, whether or not the camera was on him, he would still be at the soup kitchen, helping out. But to that point, he was also always aware when the camera was on. So he would be doing it either way, but he was smart enough to ride two horses at the same time. And so and I thought that was smart. So maybe I take some of that into consideration when I say, look, I'm not trying to get anything out of this, but I do recognize that there's a benefit to being on the radio. So I say that to let's go back to I say that to some of these people have different motivations. My motivation for being on the radio, aside from this yawning moment here, I like it. I like talking. I've always liked talking. I get that from my mother. That was entirely her. If you don't like that, yell at her. You can't now, so joke's on you. Sorry, a past mom joke. Yeah, so I do feel like I'm in a crunch because I want to get home. I want to get Liam because sometimes my schedule just doesn't give me the flexibility that I need to be home to get him off the bus. Now, most of the stuff is extracurricular, meaning I'm, working or, whatever, and I can't. So I guess it's not extracurricular, but sometimes the schedule just doesn't allow me to be at home. And I want to be there as often as I can. To get him off the bus, I think that's important. Okay, so I am trying to not rush this. I don't mean to rush our time together, but, you know, I can't spend every waking hour or napping hour, maybe. I don't know what you'd call it. Look at this. Is it possible I can't find the piece in what I said before about needing to open a second one? It may be true. There's only one more bag. I guess we can open it. And nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. Oh, look at this. We got one on the bag. So I opened number 5 prematurely. That's okay. So I'm not rushing this to be done with you. I'm just rushing this to perhaps be able to get home. See, it's the on-off button. My gosh, this is a freakish amount of thought that they put in here. I'm blown away by it. Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to edit any of that out, so we'll see how that goes. Do I like my job? Do I like what I do? I like it well enough that I keep doing it, and I'm attempting to, you know, pay for a lifestyle with it. So does anybody, let me take that back up. I was going to say, does anybody really like their job? And what I say to that is, I'm very happy at my job and with my job. Does it, you know, I don't know that it brings me a life of fulfillment, which is probably why I run for town council. I do it on the radio. I find hobbies and do stuff. But I like it in that it affords me then the opportunity to do everything else. So I think that's probably step one for some folks to find a job that maybe allows you to enjoy life a bit. But what I would also say is, man, if I could find a way to make money, yeah, not even to make money, but to make a living off of doing what I love, my gosh, then I think that's the game changer. And I am truly impressed by people who have figured that out. That's really something. So hey, if you're out there and want to share your story on how you figured that out, let me know, because that's not the little battery. I think people would get a kick out of knowing that. Meaning, hey, what's your maybe quiet works, I suppose. So what have we covered today? Because we're going to be done here in a few minutes. What have we covered? We covered my love. Did we cover my love of tattoos? I think we did. Wow. I apologize for that few minutes there. I was completely engrossed in whatever the heck it is I'm doing. So yeah, maybe this is a moment where you say, "Hey, Bob, can you please focus for a second on doing what?" Whoopsie. Oh, give me a second. Okay, we're in that delicate stage of the build where everything has to go just right for just a few minutes. They got this little device here that turns into a dial for the volume, which is just, like I said, I am blown away at the level of thought that went into this. That's the contrast one. It's certainly the most detail-oriented one that I've ever seen. So kudos to those guys. Contrast. This guy covers up all this. Okay, let's see here. Now this side, we have. I'm going to get these words down one day because I think it'd be cool to know these. Certainly, if you're going to play Lego guy on the interwebs, you should know what the words are instead of just flat 4 and a 3 banger. But maybe wouldn't that be something if that's what they were called? A flat 4 and a 3 banger. Oh, they did this. Truly impressive. Extension connector. I don't remember that piece. Look at that. It's just come together. The buttons, it just feels awesome. Okay, so this is supposed to, you take this off. This is supposed to come back. And I'm supposed to put this guy there, that up there, put this back. Okay. Here we go. Home stretch, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this. I don't know that I covered anything substantive. They're not all going to be winners. So if you feel like, oh man, I'm not going to do that, try back again next time. I said, don't give up on me just yet. Still trying to figure out my way in the world, and I appreciate your confidence in whatever it is I'm doing here. First, I always, man, do I start a lot of things that way? I have in the past thought when people start talking about, oh, thank you for coming on this journey with me. And I was like, man, that's goofy. Why would you say that? I'm not going to. But now that I am a content creator, I understand the value of thanking people for listening to content more, in that it is a journey. If you guys stopped me in the street and said, hey, knucklehead, this is awful, maybe I would shift gears or wouldn't do it. But I've had a surprising number of people say, hey, we like doing this with you. And so yeah, I suppose we'll just one of those. I don't know, we'll keep doing it together and until I find something else to do. Craig Ferguson, I've always liked Craig Ferguson. He does the Joy podcast, and he had said something very recently in the last couple days that he's going to take a step back from that. He's doing that because, he says, hey, look, I don't have the bandwidth to do this once a week. My guess is that means he does concert comedy tours. So my guess is he's just, having a hard time collaborating all of his faculties to get, just to get everything done. Oh, we get to do the Zelda one now. And so he's taking a step back, which, that's cool, whatever. But he thanked folks for listening to him. And so, yeah, I got to do the same. It is a journey. I appreciate you folks taking it with me. And really also, who knows, in that maybe this will be nothing now, but maybe at some point in the future. Okay, did you hear that? This comes out, and it pops in there. Then you have the contrast here. Volume out here. You can turn it on and off. As you see, let me hold up to this one here. Let me go here. Press the buttons. That was pretty cool. That was an hour and 20. Okay, look at that, right on the nose. I thought that was a lot of fun. This was by far one of the best. Out of all these Legos I've done, I think this is my first breaker. First breaker they've given me. Gameboy. Nintendo. Excellent build. Comes with a little stand. Let's go back here. Excellent build. Comes with a little stand. Can't say enough about this one. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed listening to this for a while. I actually don't know if I covered anything. I promise. This was I gotta, you gotta prime the pump a little bit, and this was priming the pump. I'm going to be back doing this a little more frequently here. Hopefully doing some version of Dad Bod Walking podcast with friends. It's like the 2-3 hour one where I interview folks. We just have a really good conversation. Dad Bod Walking, the Northern Front, about 22 minutes, about once a week, that I'll be putting out, that will not only go here on my YouTube, but also out to the WJOB podcast network. And then someone called it Bob the Builder. That's probably hashtag trademarked. I don't know. But I'll be doing some episodes of The Builder more often. And yeah, I think we're back. All right, everybody. I'll catch you next time.